While the big news of the day might be Microsoft buying Activision and now living in a volcano with a hairless cat like a Bond villain, today also marks the day we can talk about Extraction by Ubisoft, which is going to be on Microsoft's Game Pass day and date. And of course on their systems as well. Extraction is a co-op or single-player Rainbow Six shootout, taking the core gameplay and gunplay heroes and mechanics from the Rainbow Six Siege game and throwing them up against an alien menace. Make absolutely no mistake, if you look at this game and think to yourself, that looks a bit like Tom Clancy Rainbow Six version of Phoenix Immortals Rising, you wouldn't actually be wrong. In many ways, this is Rainbow Six's version of that kind of sliding into something a little bit the same, but also a little bit different. So here's my review for Rainbow Six Extraction. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, maybe subscribe. Check out other amazing YouTubers out there. Kyle Hill is an incredible science YouTuber. You guys have heard me talk about him before. He's a lover of games. Go check him out as well. Graphically, when it comes to this game, there's a couple issues here and there I'll talk about. It doesn't look amazing or brand new in next gen, but when it comes to the character models and it comes to location, there is a Rainbow Six feeling to almost everything, and I can certainly see the hereditary nature of the designs and the systems in the way in which it's presented. However, that also means it's built from the bones of a game that's older than some of the gamers who are just grabbing a controller for the first time. Though I'm telling you right now, a 7-year-old probably shouldn't be playing Rainbow Six, that's for sure. Graphically, it's a mix of bare bones with a lot of straight and almost clinically clean architectures for nice sight lines and quick visual identification of movement from normal players. However, this is a PvE game. There's some nice mixes here, growing, sprawling spores that come out of dead enemies and the nests that slow down your character if you hit them, or the over-the-top graphical impacts that happen when you hit or get hit with an enemy's status limiting effect. Now, some are going to hate the huge screen effects for this, from blood to green goo that explodes and clouds your vision. Personally, I love it. It adds a bit of realism to the game where your vision is occluded by things like that, but it's not going to be for everybody. And I can also see the enemy design, though it actually gets a little bit dynamic later on, may not be for everybody as well. Whether it be zombies or alien zombies, which would be like elombies, you don't really get too much surprise through this game. There are your typical designs that you would always expect and some cool graphical elements with them, as well as a couple surprises on the higher difficulties, but it's not something that's going to be absolutely shocking. Technically, though, it has a number of settings, from render scaling to DLSS, TXAA, multiple levels of that, as well as separate settings for NVIDIA latency boost to get your speed on. It does have a bit of micro stutter here or there, and that is a problem. I tried the game with various settings, capped and uncapped, 144 hertz all the way down, even locked to 60 FPS just to see what was occurring. Sometimes, when running, there's just this bump and then back down again. For those who are really sensitive to micro stutter, it doesn't happen all the time, but when it does, for somebody like me, it was a bit noticeable. As a graphical presentation, the game is not going to shock and awe, even though I do think that the NPCs, especially in the cutscenes, look pretty goddamn good. But as a game, you can certainly see the weight of that older skeleton, despite having it lost a couple pounds. Where it didn't lose much is in the audio presentation. This is pretty much what you expect. Sound-wise, it's a lot of the different feelings that you got from Rainbow Six. And the game definitely skews on the heavy side of stealth. That does impact the sounds of the guns. For example, most of the time, you're going to want to suppress on pretty much any gun that you have. You don't want to go out there and go loud. There's a good chance you're going to call the aliens to you with that. And it sounds like a bunch of people just collecting in a room going into the microphone.
Loading weapon.
And that's the way game designers have decided to make silencer sound in video games, but that's not really the way they sound. And if you get 3 or 4 people on a team doing that, it can be a bit wonky. I do like the sounds the aliens have. They end up spitting out a giant scream when you're nearby if they can power that up and alert the enemies around you. Explosions sound pretty much exactly as you would expect from any kind of Rainbow Six game. So if you're happy with the sounds there, you're going to be happy here. Musically, there's not a lot going on in this game. There's a couple tracks, notably somber, and definitely a little bit on the technical electronica side that sort of gives you this undercurrent and vibe of suspense, but it's not necessarily anything that's really going to grab you. It's just sort of there and it gets out of the way. It does add a bit of nervousness, especially when you're in some particular areas and maybe you're doing some stealth here and there. You probably won't really pick up on anything as being something noteworthy or listened to outside of the game. Once again, though, Ubisoft does show its chops when it comes to presentation and voices. Characters walking here or there discussing the horror that they've all seen and the various different ways in which you're going to take them on. Ubisoft has this ideal and this big presentation that they always hit, whether it be Division or this game in particular. Major monuments being taken over. It's all very medium budget, high level TV show feel with characters giving you snippets of data while you're out in the field. I like the production levels here. I always have, and I think the characters in the cutscenes look pretty damn spectacular. It is always one of those things that you can sort of feel like it's a Ubisoft game, though, if that makes sense. Speaking of what's a Ubisoft game, what would it be if the gameplay wasn't pretty much exactly what you expect, which is Rainbow Six PvE? Because it is. There's a couple surprises. I wasn't expecting one of the first surprises that you notice in the game, which is that it injects different goals into every single mission that you have, and those injected goals can actually be quite different. For example, when you start the game, you may have this one goal of going in and saving somebody, but at the same time, you may also have another goal of going in and planting explosives on a nest that stops other nests from continually respawning. And you might have a third goal in the same locations that has you set seismic sensors down so you can perform a reading on the aliens and what they're doing and what they think is cool in the world, I guess. Another 7 to 10 different types of quests or mini missions can be added into these, and every time you go out into the field, there's always 3 locations you go to. So you pick the main location itself, and there's 3 little mini maps that you move through, each of those mini maps with its own sort of quest. But Ubisoft didn't stop there. They actually merged in a bit here that I really was impressed with. If a teammate is hurt or injured or returns from a mission after being rescued, the better you do with the other characters, the faster that character heals, reinforcing this feeling of a team where people step up when others are actually hurt and they need to rest. It's a very small thing, but just like small problems I talk about, this is a small, excellent bit. Another place I was happy is not necessarily the gunfighting itself, which I think is fine. It feels just like Rainbow Six, though there's a little less recoil than I would like. And that can, of course, be explained off as these men and women being absolute professionals. But it was the tie-in of team. It was the feeling of going and sacrificing yourself to save another character in the game. And if you don't save them, they end up coming back later, but they're hurt. I like that a lot. I like that feeling of connection and that feeling that the entire team is going to be let down if something goes on. And the idea that y'all just got to get up, get out there, and save your best pal, who you ended up trying just moments before to take on just a little too much. A lot of Extraction is about just going a little too far and paying the penalty or getting the ultimate rewards, which is a ton of experience to level up your characters and your milestone level. Currently, you have 2 game modes themselves. You've got a bunch of modes coming out in DLC, but these first 2 you have right now are a solo mode that allows you to go out by yourself and take out various enemies, doing all these missions completely alone, or you can go in with up to 2 friends or 2 people online and take those exact same missions on. You have a limited number of difficulties until you go up in your milestone level. I believe it's 4 or 5 just to get to a new location, as well as another 2 or 3 milestones just to get one higher difficulty, and then another 4 or 5 after that to get more. If you find that most of the time you're not really getting challenged, I would say to make sure you set it up, you get more experience for that, and it just makes you unlock those other experience levels a little bit more quickly. Additionally, anything above the lowest level of experience unlocks some encounters that don't happen on the lowest. Just because you're going in there, though, and you're pounding down some aliens and you're thinking to yourself, man, I'm doing awesome, suddenly one of your guys is going to die, and they get encased in this game's version of Carbonite, which is the ability for them to basically go MIA. And at this point, you can't choose them anymore. They're actually placed randomly in a level in that location. And you can return, like I said, and try to find those and try to take them out. I like that feeling of rescuing because it did add something to the missions themselves. And if you take a bunch of damage in your return, but you're not MIA, you can actually be injured. And again, you have to switch to one of those different operators. It's a good system that causes the player to actually have to switch it up and not just stick with 3 or 4 operators. Because if you're out leveling one of the operators and then you go back in, it can be pretty difficult. So I found it actually made much more sense to go up a couple levels with each operator as I went, or at the very least experiment so I wasn't completely surprised. What does surprise me, though, is every single time you get aliens who show up, they pretty much look like all the other aliens you get in every other game. It's not massively huge when it comes to the variety. We've seen a lot of these enemy types who drop bombs, characters who explode when they get shot, who call to other characters who shoot you so that they can shoot you, and call to other characters so that they can go and grab you and shoot you again. It's all the stuff that we've seen before. There's a couple change-ups, especially as, like I said, you get a little farther in the game and you turn up that difficulty. This game's got a version of a warp gate and vitamin E bosses out there just strutting around. They're mini bosses, not necessarily good ones, however, and you go in and you take them out in some pretty much boring levels. I actually enjoyed the main parts of the game much better than going into their warp gate and taking out some of the main bosses, but you do get a lot of experience for doing so. Now, of course, this is Rainbow Six, so it's all about the operators, the various different characters that you can get, and as you upgrade them, they continue to level up. They get new skills. They start out with one very particular skill as well. Some of them are quite useful. The ability to see enemies as you move around the level. All of these recharge for their ability. You can have the ability to throw a decoy down so that enemies actually go at the decoy. That is amazingly useful in particular missions. You have a limpet mine for limpet mining a wall so enemies come around and they explode, or you have various different stuns which are hugely useful depending on the mission type again. You also have that ability to pick up different weapons, different armor. It's actually really well done, even though it is just a reflection of Rainbow Six prior. So Rainbow Six players aren't going to necessarily look at any of this and be like, whoa, surprise. Now, when you look at Extraction, it is exactly the ideal of what they wanted. It's PvE Rainbow Six. They want you to play it in the way that they want you to jump in, either by yourself or with others, and just sort of enjoy it where it's better balanced between you and the enemies and not always going against other people. Difficulty, like I said, is actually pretty fine. It's something that you can do, and you can step it up and elevate your desire and your need to really go out there and push your stealth up because the difficulty gets incredibly high at times. And mixing and matching the items that you unlock, as well as the skills and your weapons and the decisions there, including your characters and their skills, was actually pretty fun. There's a lot here to offer, but a lot of it is something that you're going to feel is very familiar if you already do Rainbow Six. So your mileage is going to vary there. As always, gamepad, keyboard, and mouse, they work exactly like you would expect for Rainbow Six. There's no real surprises here with your ability to go in and keybind and adjust various things, but it definitely is that skeleton there. And if you don't want to do the particular mission, like let's say there's some mission that you're like, I don't know if I can do this, you can either fly out at any time or you can go to the next spot. You already know what that next level's mission is going to be. You can go there and move forward, skipping the previous mission. But liking isn't love, and that brings us to the fun factor. I can't lie, there was a good deal of fun to be had with this game. You jump in with a couple friends, you go out there, you take them down. It's one of the things that you don't have to deal with, like I said, the toxic community that exists around Rainbow Six for a lot of people. It's PvE, and you can just jump in here and enjoy yourself. But if you're a veteran of Rainbow Six, some of this is going to feel like repeated content. It's just going to be up to you to decide if you want to do it in PvE. Sometimes people like to do that. We don't always have to have the exact same thing. Regurgitating the exact same moment in so many different ways and so many different ideas isn't for everybody. So doing something slightly different like this could actually be quite cool. When you compare it to other games out there like Back 4 Blood that's now patched up and is actually really fun with that card system, it is a little bit wanting. However, I think a lot of people would argue that Rainbow Six's shooting is a bit better, or they like the weapons better. That, of course, is up to you. And then you have other titles like World War Z, but who knows? Maybe you want something different. I gotta say, for me, it was a good change up, and I definitely like the skeleton of Rainbow Six anyway. So as you guys know, I rate games on a buy, wait for sale, rent, or never touch it rating scale, but this is also on Game Pass, and I'm going to say, hey, if you got Game Pass, this is well worth getting. At full price, not quite sure. I'd say probably wait for a sale unless you just really like what you're seeing here. Extraction does not have a lot of negatives to it. It's just not necessarily that the positives outweigh the idea of going and spending a little bit of cash. Like I said, Game Pass, that makes total sense. And I can see, once again, Microsoft's aim to get games like this on Game Pass. It is no surprise that you've got this, Extinction, Back 4 Blood, Outriders, and many others of this particular kind, people jumping in and doing this. The microtransactions were all of the typical boring cosmetic type. I actually got cool unlocks for my characters without that, and I didn't see anything about level ups or something like that. Doesn't mean that they won't be added. It just means that they're not there right now. So anyway, that's it for me. I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Peace out. Check out the Patreon. It's an amazing place with cool people. Every single morning we discuss the gaming news. Every single week we stream. people do D&D. It's an awesome place. Peace out.